Webb are not on the work session right now, waiting to testify. So, and so besides that, I'm just going to go ahead and Vice Chair Bangs, defer to you to go through the rest of the agenda.
Okay, excellent. It looks like item number 2 is our budget committee appointments on page 3.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bangs. Good morning, Commissioners. As we're laying the groundwork to prepare for the upcoming budget cycle for fiscal year 24-25, one of the first items to address would be appointing the members to the Budget Committee. Currently, we have 2 vacancies for the countywide Budget Committee in Districts 2 and District 5. We're very fortunate to have, I believe, 4 applications as of this morning. One of which is someone who's reapplying, Tita Montero. Additionally, we have 5 vacancies for the Road District, 2 vacancies for the 4-H Extension District, and 4 vacancies for the Westport Sewer District, all of which we currently, I don't believe we've received any applications for those committees. However, I think it's probably worth mentioning for the Westport Sewer District, Jeff Hazen, who is a current member, but to my knowledge was somewhat absent for last year's committee. We've reached out to him to check on what his status might be for this current year. We haven't heard back, but between the holidays and everything else, I'm hoping we'll hear back from him sometime this week, and we'll update you once we hear back from Mr. Hazen. So we're submitting these applicants for your review in the effort to fill the current vacancies. And with that, I can attempt to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I represent District 5, which is about half the geographical area of the county, and I'm always eager to have that bunch of the land mass represented. I'm a little conflicted right now because I see that we have some very qualified, experienced candidates who are not from District 5. And we have, I would say, a next-gen person, but somebody who doesn't have much experience in budgeting. I wonder how much training you're offering to update and inform new board members. I want the budget committee to be the most capable possible. And I still want to hear from you, what's your intention to basically assure quality participation by every member of the budget committee. I haven't talked with you about this, so I apologize for springing it on you, but that's the consideration I have.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think at the forefront of this whole process is the outreach that will start immediately. I think the first opportunity we'll have will be to invite both the committee members and the applicants to there'll be a budget policy agenda item. I believe it's on the 17th, to start to expose them to how this all kind of works and the items that they need to start to considering. Full disclosure, this is my first time going through the budget cycle here at Clatsop County. So my intentions would be to be available, and whether we need to set meetings in addition to what's already on the calendar. I mean, I think that's really my intentions, is to make myself available to answer any questions, to inform potential committee members about what they can anticipate and what they should start to think about and consider.
And Vice Chair Banks, if I might add to what Andrew was just speaking of, Commissioner Thompson, as you know, folks that are coming into the budget process who haven't been through public processes, it's very different. It's very nuanced. And so what I would say is that for any new member, that we will give them an orientation, to the budget process and then customize whatever supports that they need based upon what their background and experience is. And so I think that we can take whatever active role or inactive role that is necessary based upon the experience of the applicants. But certainly we share your view is that we want to have, a very involved and participating budget committee to support the board. So,
Madam Chair, if I may.
Certainly.
Well, thank you both of you for that consideration. I'm still cogitating this in my mind, so I don't have a position or an opinion right now. I assume there's no issue if I reach out to each one of the applicants and have an individual conversation with them. Good. All right. Thank you kindly. And delighted to have this problem.
I agree.
Commissioner Toyoka, do you have any questions?
No real questions. I just, when I reviewed that, I was like, hopefully we'll have a, and I appreciate Commissioner Thompson liking representation, but at the end of the day, I like to see that we have the best qualified, the most learned that we can get, and the most that'll do the best for the entire county instead of, any kind of parochial interests. So, and I'm not saying that, we're going by districts as parochial, but I mean, across the budget wise, make it a very standardized, very, county-wide decision process.
Yeah. Ready to start the
Excellent. Are there any further questions or comments? I will say I also tend to defer to experience when we are going through this process. The more experience we have on the budget committee, I think the more seamless the process is. So those are just my 2 cents. Moving on to our second topic today, updates to the Land and Water Development and Use Code, Article 3, non-conforming uses and structures, and that will be presented to us by David Cook, Community Development Land Use Planner, on page 12.
Thank you, Vice Chair Banks. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Cook, and I'm presenting agenda item number 3 today, which has proposed code updates to the Land and Water Development and Use Code, Article 3, Section 3.1000, non-conforming uses and structures. This section contains the standards that relate to the development of non-conforming uses and structures, which are those uses and structures which are legally permitted but are not currently in conformance with our Land and Water Development and Use Code. Typically, the way you would see that happen is something was legally permitted sometime in the past, and then in the future, a code update happened that made that development inconsistent with the current code. The current code, as we use it today, has a few issues, mainly that the review process for developers seeking to expand their non-conforming structures is fairly burdensome, in staff's opinion. The current code also has sections which are just simply contradictory to the rest of the development code, essentially describing a permitting process for illegal developments. To give just a quick example, there are of the burdensome review process. There is a strip of residential developments on Highway 30 in Westport, in an area that in the early 2000s was rezoned to a commercial zone. So the residential homes that are there are considered non-consistent. They're non-conforming structures. The current review process to add an addition onto one of those homes would require a type 2A conditional use permit with a public hearing at the Planning Commission. That would be for something as simple as adding a bathroom to your home, or expanding the footprint of your home in that way. So the goal of the proposed code amendments would be primarily to ease the permitting burden for property owners and to allow property owners suffering from structure damage in the event of some kind of natural disaster, to more easily obtain permits for reconstruction. These code amendments that we've prepared were presented twice to the Clatsop County Planning Commission, and their comments have been included in the proposed code amendments that you see in your agenda packet. We're hoping to get some feedback from your commission before taking the proposed code amendments back to the Planning Commission on January 9th for a public hearing. Pending that vote, staff would bring code amendments to your commission at the next available public hearing. And if you have any questions, I'm here to help. Thanks.
Commissioner Toyoka.
And thank you. And I appreciate the revisions. Our mantra has been, facilitate and remove barriers. And I believe this is in the right direction. One question I did have that I didn't read anywhere, I kind of like went over and over again, and about transferability. Sale, transfer of the property, the same timelines occur, or there are different timelines from date of transfer, or, how does that work on transfer of property?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. The code does not seek to address a change in timelines for a transfer of property. It's really more about the property and the structure, when the structure had damage on it or when it became non-conforming. So like a lot of our land use regulations, it's not related to ownership or time of transfer. It's about when something was permitted or when a code was adopted.
Thank you. I asked that question because in certain areas, if there is, provisions there, say if there's fire damage, loss of property, if the current homeowner was unable to ever rectify that, and it goes a few years through insurance, and then a new purchaser claims the property, or buys the property, do they have enough time if it's, at the almost a 3-year window is, I know there's a 1-year extension possible there already, but just is there an availability of time for the new owner to get everything in line to facilitate the rebuild and reconstruction?
Yeah, that's a great comment. That's a comment that our planning commission had as well. Our current code says that you must acquire a building permit for the reconstruction after the event of a natural disaster within 1 year. And the proposed code amendments are extending that to 3 years, which should help pretty substantially, I hope.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Now I have a question. So if I hear Commissioner Toyoka's concern properly, if there were a fire or some form of natural disaster, the existing owner at the time of the disaster, whatever it was, for whatever reason, does not get the repair or remodel done, and then someone else, another party, buys the property, they're still confined to the window of opportunity from the date of the natural disaster. Am I perceiving that accurately?
Commissioner Thompson, yes, that's correct.
Well, then, thank you. Follow up, Madam Chair?
Certainly.
Thank you. Commissioner Toyoka, does that address your concerns, or do you have something else to say?
That addressed it, because I know it also said it was like, I believe you can get a 1-year additional term. So I was just making sure it was transferable, and it was not, because it doesn't address it in the statute. So I was making sure that it was transferable.
Excellent. I had a quick question in regards to the footprint. If a natural disaster completely removed the dwelling, are they then set and required to then develop on that set footprint of the original dwelling?
Vice Chair Bangs, yes. So I think this is on page 16 of the agenda packet, subsection 3.1080, subsection 1B. If a non-conforming structure or structure containing a non-conforming use is damaged, demolished, or destroyed, I'm sorry, this is subsection 1A. They build it within the dimensional standards of the structure prior to its disaster, prior to its destruction. So they are confined to the footprint of what the existing structure was. If they wanted to, so let's say, for instance, there's a home that's built on a property line and they want to rebuild it on the property line if it's destroyed by a fire. This code section allows for that. If they wanted to build it, 5 feet away from the property line, that's fine too.
What about like flood zones? Because our zoning, our better science always is changing. So what if in regard to a newly updated zone, like a flood zone, would they be then able to move away from that?
Yeah, Vice Chair Banks. So this section is trying more to be with what you could do legally for a non-conforming structure. If there's changes in the floodplain, they do still need to conform to the floodplain development standards that are in Article 5 of the law book.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank
Do
you.
we have any further questions? Oh, Commissioner Thompson.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, because now I have another question. After I listen to my colleagues, I learn things and have more questions. The FEMA BIOP is a consideration since we're talking about floods as well. Does this contemplate the impact that will have? Or are we just putting that off to the side until it happens to us?
Commissioner Thompson, no, this code update doesn't seek to address any potential impacts from the FEMA BIOP. This is more of an update that clears up the existing code language pretty significantly for staff and for property owners.
I see Director Hansen's comment.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Banks. So with regard to your question, Commissioner Thompson, to elaborate on David's response, at this point, we don't know the full extent of what the impacts are going to be from that FEMA BIOP. We haven't seen the model ordinance. We haven't seen anything coming out of the NEPA review and the environmental impact statement yet. And we won't have that information until later this summer at the earliest. So there's really no way that we could reasonably plan with any surety at all to try and incorporate any mitigating conditions or pathways of approval into this particular amendment.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any follow-up comments or questions? Okay, then moving on to, I think it's our last topic, Rural Health Coalition of Clatsop County, presented to us by our Public Health Director.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Toyoka. Let me share my screen with you. So, okay, let me see how I can share it. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay, thank you. So, yeah, let me start with this slides, and I think I presented it to you when I reported to you about the county health ranking. And this is just to show, yes, still I want to repeat, and the social determinants of health. And this is always, I think, yes, it's probably imprinted in my bone, and this zip code is more important than DNA code for determining individual's health. So we can see from this slide, more than 50% is determined by social and economic factors, and about 30% by health behavior. And yes, like healthcare, health insurance, and the quality of care, it's less than 20%. This is just a quick review. But if we look at how these social determinants realize in a community and in an individual, because if we talk about social determinants, everything is related to health. But if we look at the detail, and really 4 sectors in our social fibers directly related to health. One is mental health, healthcare, public health, and social services. And these three sectors, or these four sectors, and really they work towards to promote health and to mitigate human sufferings. So these are things, and we work together. But the challenge is, in the past, health, public health, social service, and mental health run in different road, and they work together. But most of the time, I want to say, especially healthcare and the public health, they run parallelly. So this is the challenge. So face this challenge came with an idea about a Rural Health Coalition. And the Rural Health Coalition is just brings these diverse organizations together and choose some specific task and working together. Some they are short term, some they are long term, and this is the beauty of coalition, and work together and get things done one by one. So back to our county, and this is from our county's community health needs assessment report. This updated to 2022, and 7 key, they call key themes, and I can be more bluntly say, yes, 7 key weakness we need to work on. These are the challenges we need to do. And like access healthcare and behavior health, and included drug use, homeless, and child care, affordable child care. I know your the board put a lot of efforts there and improved a lot in the past more than a year or two, and it's great. And economic insecurity, access dental care, and chronic conditions. These are things, and really, if you pick one, just as you experienced child care and so many things related together. So we need to team together and get things done. That's how come with our community efforts to form a Rural Health Coalition of Clatsop County. And this slides and the next slides, I just cut and paste, put our charter here and just show you. And the background is really this organization we try to form is come out of COVID-19, and COVID-19 really bring the community together. I was not here, but since I came to interview this job, I learned a lot. And really, this is such a gem for this small community. We can work together. This community learned a lot, so that's why these agencies get together and want to keep working together. And so this organization, the mission is improve community health through collaboration. And this, I think, yes, we don't need to go back, and the importance of working together. And the vision is bring local members and bring local resources together to address things. We have common interest and we have common goal to solve it, to improve community health. And here's the goals, and the goal, I'm not going to read through, but yes, you can see every 3 years we will develop a community needs assessment and health improvement plan together. This is a very big things. And this, I think, for in the nation for more than 10 years, and so many community doing it. And this is really bring things together, bring community together. And we will, our health goal and working together at least one project every year. And we will work together and make a measurable improvement. So this is our goal. And now we have founding members, and all 5 members already signed it. And I present it to you and get your endorsement, and we will sign it, and our county will have a new organization called Rural Health Coalition. And this is my presentation, and yes, I'm ready to answer your questions. And before that, I want to share these slides with you, and we are already coming together. We will keep working together and make the county a healthier place.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I see Commissioner Thompson has a question or comment.
I cannot hear.
Oop, I think you're muted, Commissioner Thompson.
Okay, sorry, thank you. So probably want to stop sharing that screen so we can see each other, but I do have to love it when you're quoting Henry Ford, because that's close to home. I love this. I see the imprint of the county manager and the former health director Margot Lalich. I think this is absolutely the unsiloing that we need to be doing to be successful as a county. So I have 2 questions. One is sort of a governance issue about how this is integrated into our strategic plan. And the second part is, how do we address the economic instability at the same level of coordination and effectiveness? Because I think that's critical for this plan to be successful.
Your 2 questions, and about let me answer the second question first. And this coalition now, yes, we don't have any funding, and we are willing to come together. And this in a long term, and I'm talking about a long term, yes, if not immediately, and within 1-2 years, and I hope we can apply for federal grant. This is every 5 years grant, and we can get it. And also, this agency representative already actively seeking local nonprofit or regional nonprofit organization, and we're seeking their support. And we need this kind of support to make things forward. And your first question, yes, this organization, it's really, I think I can give you an example. And just this morning, I saw a list of questions and from a newspaper reporter and ask about drug overdose. And when I look at it, and one question, yes, she asked very good. And she asked, what's the biggest challenges for us to handling overdose? I feel really, yes, this is because siloed funding and lack of data and the short of communication make our county lack of efforts, streamed efforts to address one things. So now if we have these 5-6 organizations work together, and we can focus our efforts, streamline resources, be more effective. I hope I answer your questions.
It's a start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Toyoka.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the effort and the coordinated effort here, and stand behind what you're trying to do, Jen Chang. to steal one of the county manager's phrases, this is not about adding a layer of, administration. This is actually providing coordinated muscle movement. It's a coordinated effort with the players that are already established. We saw it happen during the pandemic, how the same players came together, shared information, shared resources, and achieved goals. So that's formally putting that into a process that we did organically. So I appreciate that. And again, I like the fact that it is not adding layers, yet it is coordinating our existing resources. So thank you for that, Jen Chang.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Toyoka. Actually, yes, I just arrived and I came almost the COVID is gone, and really, I think community spirits is there. And this is a community leaders' efforts. Thank you. I just, yes, took this opportunity. Should not get credit. Thank you.
Is it okay if I go, Vice Chair Banks?
Go ahead. I muted myself too soon.
Thank you, Jen Chang. I think that I just wanted to answer Commissioner Thompson's question real quick about the strategic plan. And then, but before I answer that, I just wanted to really preface that the coalition will be successful because we have such strong partners who are willing to work together. And I think, as Jen Chang said, and as Commissioner Toyoka mentioned, is that, going through the crisis, which, now that we look back on COVID, we sometimes forget all of the specific challenges and specific actions and the fact that they were coming at us constantly and of great magnitude. The fact that we did, and I think Clatsop County performed at the top tier of all the counties, is that we did that because we partnered with our other strong institutions early to allow us to actually plan as a community for that response. And I think that is how community response works best when it's in an emergency. It's not about one organization or one department within an organization. It's about all the different facets and all the different community assets coming together. So I think Clatsop County became a real model for how that can happen. And I appreciate the work Jen Chang's doing with our partners to keep that model strong as we tackle other significant local challenges. In terms of the strategic plan, I think that now we have a new portal for us to have projects come through that may also become part of the project list for the county as we do strategic planning. And I think as the rural coalition kind of matures in its focus, I think your board will be hearing about what those focus areas are, and then those focus areas may become priorities for the county as we work through legislative processes, budgeting processes. And so I think that's where the connection is. We just have one more portal that we will have issues, challenges, opportunities come through that the county can then help move the ball by our own efforts and our own expertise. So that's how I see that. Right now, there isn't a project per se, but I think as they get a little bit more formalized, there will be projects that come out of that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And the reason I raise the economic issue, because one of your key factors with which I heartily concur is economic instability. And we have two members absent today because they're addressing, probably from quite different points of view, the issue of economic instability. One of the main foundational pieces of our economy is about to be severely diminished. I've seen this coming, but how do we have, in my mind, it's comparable to a COVID for this community because of the detrimental impact we have. So County Manager, can you help me have some sense of perspective about that?
Sure. Commissioner Thompson and Vice Chair Bangs, Commissioner Toyoka. I mean, I think, there's certainly huge challenges for the community related to the HCP and some of the other things that were talked about earlier, like the FEMA buy-up. I mean, literally, there's not any shortage of challenges for our rural county right now that go to the very root of some of the concerns Jen Chang mentioned about economic stability. I think, though, that what it's going to take, since we're in kind of, the bullseye on a lot of these different issues, is it's going to take the state working with us differently, which is what the county has asked for of the state in response to the ACP. But you could also say that in response to the FEMA buy-up or anything else, is the state really needs to be here with us, and they need to not, I mean, what often happens is that local governments plan, and especially economically, because it's aspirational. And then the aspirations quickly get derailed because there's regulation and there's things outside of the control of that local government that actually, limit what those options really are. And so what I think is important for Clatsop County is, as we think about economic planning, is that we need to actually do it differently, to where the state's with us, because a lot of these barriers are coming from the state. And the state needs to be committed to actually removing some of these barriers to allow a rural Clatsop County to have a bright future, but we aren't going to be able to do that under the current, regulatory limits. And so I think what it's going to take in this case is the state actually being with us and identifying legislative fixes for some of the rural economies that are very specific to the rural economies. And that's related to potential land use issues or other regulations and funding. I mean, they need to fund rural counties differently too. So I think that those are all, part of our strategic plan now, with the economic opportunity analysis, which we kicked off as part of the comprehensive plan, to knowing that we need to have different conversations with the state as we move forward on these different issues. Because what I would like to see the state do is actually know us and be willing to remove barriers from us succeeding as we evolve. Because evolution within a very confined setting is not going to evolve as much as it should or it needs to. So for us to evolve, we need a larger runway. And right now our runway is pretty short. And I mean that because the runway is really defined, the length of it is defined by lack of resources, over burdensome regulations, and just not a really collaborative partnership with the state. And so I think that's what the next, iteration of what's going to be needed. And it's going to take the state to really honor a different collaborative model. And we'll see if they're interested in doing that with us. What I don't want to see us do is continually to identify plans that have no ability to actually be implemented. So I don't know if that helps, Commissioner, but my thoughts.
Well, it really helped me. I appreciate it. Commissioner Thompson, a follow-up?
A follow-up, Madam Chair. Thank you, County Manager. That helps me have some confidence and more focus. I would request that we keep this item in some form on our agenda repeatedly, because I think that focus needs to be held by us in the public eye in order to continue to address it, because I see it as the foundational issue for our success or failure as a county. And I just want to keep it top of mind. So I don't know if that fits your plan, but that's my request, or in some fashion. Keep
Yes,
it.
and what I would say, Commissioner Thompson, is that both the economic opportunity analysis and this other, economic planning initiative, which would require the state to actually be here and participate with us actively. I mean, when I say participate, I don't mean just come to a meeting. It's to develop a legislative and a regulatory plan that would actually allow us to implement our economic development plan. And so those are both in our strategic plan, at least in the draft that your board will be talking about soon. And so, it will be at the top of our list of priorities as we understand better what the HCP is going to be and how it's going to impact Clatsop County. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. I know over the last several months, I think my primary focus weekly has been the small table meetings with the governor's office, trying to push or solidify or attain some sort of financial stability for us moving forward in the future. But currently I have nothing to report in that regard, which is frustrating for me. To circle back to the Rural Health Coalition charter, I personally am hopeful to be able to participate or be able to come to one or two of these meetings, mainly just because I have a personal connection to the mental health concerns that are hitting our community, especially in pediatrics. And so I would just like to have that opportunity to come to a meeting and then verbalize my concerns and possibly verbalize some ideas for the coalition to contemplate moving forward that would hopefully benefit the families of small children in our community. Public Health Director, I really hope that I'll get an email or something for an invitation to your next meeting or an announcement to your next meeting. That would be appreciated.
Yeah, I think this is just a new group, and we are still learning to working together. But in the meantime, I can share with you and Madam Chair, and we already work on this drug overdose treatment and fill the gap and bring different organizations together. And this is still a long way to go, but I think you talk about mental health, and it's in every agency, signed agency's mind, and they all will welcome you. Yeah.
Yes, and I will just reiterate that, is that, yes, Commissioner Banks, we will make sure that you get an invite and have the opportunity to talk to the coalition.
Excellent. I appreciate that. And it looks like Commissioner Thompson has a comment. Go ahead.
Well, I do, because I have a different request. For me, what Jen Chang is doing here is so critical that rather than just have a one-off, a commissioner pops in now and then, that if we had a joint meeting of our county board of commissioners and this body, that we could share with them our gratitude for what they're already doing and are committed, interested in proceeding with them in tandem and supporting them however we can. So I have a different request because I'd like all of us to be there together, working on these community issues together.
Okay, Commissioner Thompson, I think some of our members, they are there, and I will bring your intention to them, and we will see and how we get your leadership vision there and move things forward. But I want to say it's really not my work, and it's community. And as I said, when I came here, COVID almost gone, and really this community spirit is their collaboration and get things done, and I just get a free ride. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It appears that that is the end of our agenda for today. Is there any good of the order or? Well,
Commissioner Banks,
awesome.
one
Go
question.
ahead.
Have you already testified, Commissioner Banks, for the HCP?
Yeah, both my daughter and I testified early this morning at about 9:20. So,
Okay.
yes. Nope,
All right.
we were in there.
Okay. No, just one comment from personally on the HCP is that, you know, and I alluded to it to county manager, but, you know, and all these people like they're spouting, you know, best science and all that. I hate it when people do that because, you know, they ODF, if they look at the data is the data, and they had 35 years of data. And if their Oregon Forest Practice rules were set a few years ago based on the same data, now that they're changed, it's not science-based. You know, they're fitting the rules to fit an agenda. So I wish, you know, we need to have them, whether it's our you know, our lobbyists or whatever, kind of push that button and say, no, prove the science, prove what you're saying, instead of, you know, just putting out that chatter. You know, what I dislike about sometimes in our political system is that if you say it enough times, people start to believe it, or, you know, then it's not really true. I would like to see the proof. You know, what is that? Instead of just telling us, no, this is the best science, tell us, how did the data change in the last few years from 35 years of data that would adjust our forest practices? So that's my only request or comment to you, is just, you know, because it does have a deep effect of Clatsop County. And instead of just listening to that, you know, droning on a best science, I want them to actually tell us what that is, how it changed over the last few years. Thank you.
And 100% do not disagree. I think that is something that, especially with Oregon State University's most recent study regarding carbon sequestration, like they are right now our best science, especially for the state of Oregon and in the forestry department. So anyhow, I appreciate all of your comments, Commissioner Toyota. Any other comments before we close? Well, Happy New Year, everyone. I hope you had a good one. See you next time.